Military Madness by Woods. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. Our guests on the line, Daniel Ellsberg, Pentagon Papers whistleblower, Glenn Greenwald, political and legal blogger for Salon.com. We're talking about, well, what reports are saying is a Pentagon manhunt for Julian Assange, the founder of Wikileaks, who has released videotape that is from the U.S. military of attacks on Iraqis, and it said that he has hundreds of thousands of more documents and more video. Juan?
Yes, well, I'd like to ask Daniel Ellsberg if you could respond to some of the caution that Glenn Greenwald was urging in terms of this story and what the possible motivation of the government might be in going after Manning and also after Julian Assange.
Well, the motivation of the government, which is many, many guilty secrets to keep, to go against any leaker and anyone who proposes to put out in an efficient way leakers with the possibility of really withholding their identity from the government. Their interest in preventing that is, I don't think, needs any further elaboration. Incidentally, much as they would like to discredit Assange's ability to keep secrets, he cannot be accused of having really leaked any secrets about his sources. It was apparently or allegedly Manning himself who made that choice. Now, Manning is being denigrated in various ways as unstable or disgruntled. These are the usual charges made against any whistleblower, including me. There's a lot of resonance but in every aspect of this situation as far as I'm concerned. For instance, why would Manning possibly have confided in someone? Let me conjecture that the Wired magazine article about Lamo that attracted his attention may have given him the, I don't know Manning, may have given him the feeling that he had some rapport with Lamo of a particular sort, something that was revealed in that journal. We could go on speculating about that. In my case, I told a very few people what I was doing. My former wife, because I had to tell her that she would not be getting alimony. I was about to be in prison for the rest of my life. It so happens that she confided in her mother-in-law, who in turn told the FBI. So there was an analogy there. I also told Randy Keeler, the Gandhian pacifist who was on his way to prison, who had inspired me to give the Pentagon Papers. I wanted him to know just before he went to prison that he had in fact had a useful effect, that his courage had been contagious and not without effect. So one can have different reasons for passing that on, of various kinds. As for Lamo and what we know, it's true, as Glenn says, that all we know so far is what Lamo has told us. But let me, in contrast to Glenn here, whom I admire greatly, by the way, totally, I read him every day, first thing. But let me throw caution to the winds here in commenting on this case. The fact is that what Lamo reports Manning is saying has a very familiar and persuasive ring to me. He reports Manning as having said that what he had read and what he was passing on were horrible evidence of horrible machinations by the U.S., backdoor dealings throughout the Middle East, and in many cases, as he put it, almost crimes. And let me guess that he's not a lawyer, but I'll guess that what looked to him like crimes are crimes that he was putting out. We know that he put out, or at least it's very plausible that he put out the videos that he claimed to Lamo, and that's enough to go on to get them interested in pursuing both him and the other. And show what it comes down to me is, and I say throwing caution to the winds here, is that what I've heard so far of Assange and Manning, and I haven't met either of them, is that they are two new heroes of mine, along with Thomas Drake. I've got a number of heroes, and they've, including Randy Keeler, and for that matter, Glenn Greenwald, who's on this show, and a number of others. So I believe their action is exemplary. I hope others will follow it. For 40 years, I've hoped that someone would put out information on the scale that I did, but in a more timely way than I did before I chose to do it in my time. And Manning would be the first person in 40 years to have done that, if it is true that he's put out a great raft of cables which he regards as criminal. And I'm very gratified if that's the case, and I hope he's not the last. So I noticed that Assange has said that he is, without acknowledging Manning as his source, and perhaps not even knowing whether he's his source, is getting funds and asked for donations to fly a defense team over to Kuwait to help defend Manning. And I certainly propose to add my donation to that, and I hope others will too. I expect we can find out how to do that from the Wikileaks.org website. But it seems to me a very worthy cause to defend both Assange and his operation. So far, I'm not aware of his having done anything so far that he should not have done. And on the contrary, everything he's done puts in very great question the accountability of the people who've withheld that information. He's shown much better judgment than the people who have withheld it up till now, and so has Manning.
Daniel Ellsberg, Julian Assange was supposed to be at an event in Las Vegas. He canceled. In New York, he canceled. Clearly, he's very much on the run, very afraid that he will be arrested. Reports are internationally that there is a manhunt for him. We also would like to interview him. We've just played a clip of what he had to say when we last had him on. Glenn Greenwald, your final comment.
Well, I just want to underscore that I agree with everything Daniel Ellsberg said. If Bradley Manning did what he's reputed to have done, he is a hero. WikiLeaks is probably engaged in the most important and noble acts of anybody around, and they deserve everybody's full support and gratitude for doing something to break down the huge wall of secrecy that surrounds our government.
Glenn Greenwald, political and legal blogger for Salon.com. Dan, you wanted to get in one quick last comment?
Yeah, one last thing. He's in danger of more than arrest. Arrest is probably the major thing, even though it's not clear what he would be arrested on. But I have to say that as of now, under this president, he's under danger of kidnapping, rendition, enhanced interrogation, even death. The fact is that this president is the first in our history, in any Western country that I know of, who's claimed the right to send military forces, not just to apprehend, but to kill suspected, even American citizens. Bradley Manning is probably more safe now being in custody than he would have been if he himself were eluding arrest. Assange, I would say, is in some danger, and even if it's very small, it should be zero. It's outrageous and humiliating to me as an American citizen to have to acknowledge that someone like that is in danger from our own government right now, as President Obama has actually announced through his chief of intelligence then, Dennis Blair.
Daniel Ellsberg, I want to thank you for being with us. Pentagon Papers whistleblower, and Glenn Greenwald. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report, as we move now to our last segment. Juan?
Well, the Justice Department has told the federal